everybody, and welcome back to the KingFox channel. My name's Matt Conager, and I'm building a KingFox Model 7 STI. It's right there, in case you forgot what it looked like. Anyway, I'm going to call this video Loose Ends, so if you haven't done so, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and that little tiny bell for notifications. So in this video, it's going to be loose ends. I'm tying up some, as you guessed it, loose ends. I've got some problems on the back with the trim actuator. I had some nuts that were loose. I could get them tight to get the cotter pins in, but I had too many washers in there. After going out to the KingFox factory and talking to Brandon, he gave me some tips and tricks on what I should do, so I'm going to pull the whole thing off and try to put it back together again and get things lined up a little bit better and get all my cotter keys in and everything hand tight so that it continues to actuate like it's supposed to and not bind, and then torque everything up and move on to something else. So stick with me and we'll jump into the video. Let's get going. All of this will be fun to put back together, I'm sure. Another one will be less fun. Tension, which I don't know why. I can't move the horizontal stabilizer up or down. Can't, so there's no slack in there whatsoever. It's almost as if it's bound on something and then the actuator has actuated and put pressure on it, but that certainly isn't the case. So something has to come out, probably with a little bit of force. And what first? I don't want to damage any bolts, but it seems like that's about my only course of action. Might be hammer time. I think I'll start at the bottom since there's just one down there. So you can see how crooked that thing is. It's supposed to be over here, and it's off to the side. So adjustments are going to be necessary. in there basically, so I have to I'm gonna try to push it out. I'm gonna use this nut to go over the head so I can put a wood clamp on there and push against here and pull against the head of the nut. See if that works. There's probably a special tool for this, but this is mine. It appears to be working. There. Okay, got one. Hopefully I didn't thread the head of the bolt in my nut. There we go. This will be fun to put it back together. I do remember it being fun building. I'm sure I'll remember where all these nuts and washers and bolts go. Alright, one left. Square would be good. Sometimes an extra hand would be helpful. There. Well, thinking outside the bun. And we got it. Now it's back to the instructions to see what goes where and where I can shim or do something with the bottom of it. This is my issue. On here you can see that that one is a little bit bent. So I'm going to try to put the trim actuator back in there and see if I have to put washers on this side or this side to get it to line up into this hole up top because it's offset to one side. So I had to use the channel lock and the nut over the head of the bolt to basically pry this one out. I was trying to use a wood clamp and the nut again, but I was limited on space between this rib and this rib, so I couldn't get my wood clamp in there to pull that out. So I got it with the channel lock, but now I've got it flush with the other side. Now I have to probably just thread it out with a wrench. So let me grab that. So we learned that sometimes it pays to have some bigger nuts on the job site. That kind of came in handy when I was trying to press out those bolts out of those holes where they were in there pretty tight. So remember to keep your big nuts around. Not wanting to move really at all. So maybe I can push it with the punch. Of course I can't get the punch in there. Hardly at all. This has really been a lot of fun. Things are just so tight in there. Not even one washer's coming out yet. Looks like just about. Not a lot of wiggle room, so to speak. Oh, there, I got one. Okay, looks like I'm making some progress. Have to get a new bite.
Okay. Well, those are very tight tolerances.
So here are all the parts from taking that actuator off. So now I'm going to grab the instruction manual and see what we can put back together. Alright, I'm looking at these things, and these holes are my 3/16 inch drill bit won't quite go through there, and I'm not going to force it. So I'm going to come over to the table in the manual here. This is under imperial to metric for tap drill sizes and decimal equivalents. So I'm looking at 3/16, and that brings me over to my .1875 reamer. So I'm going to give that I'm going to put a little cutting oil on that and pull it gently through all of these brackets because they were hanging up on the shank of all of my bolts. So I'm going to give that a try and see how it comes out. Not much material coming off, but a little bit. Hopefully it's just enough to keep those bolts from getting tight in there. appears that is all it took. Just that little tiny bit with the reamer. Up. Okay, gives me a tiny bit of leeway, which is good. If I haven't mentioned it already, I would definitely recommend the Tap Magic on the reamers, because it allows things to move a little bit easier. And this .1875 reamer is pretty thin. You can see how thin it is compared to my finger. This is the one that I over torqued in one of the other videos, just using it by hand, and so I think it'll help things move easier. A little bit of deja vu fabricating this bracket again. So I've got my three scissor links, and then I have to follow this washer pattern. So here we go. And 960-10 are 8 of those, and those are the fat ones. So they're a thicker washer, 2468. So I've got 8 of those. My 2 bolts are gonna go there, fatty on the outside. Then I'm gonna get one of these. Now those go on there much nicer, if you can see that, after I ran the reamer through there just a little tiny bit. So it made a world of difference. A learning point for me for the future. After that, looks like I do some nylon washers. 6 of those, 246. Okay, so 2 nylons. Then on this bottom piece, it's going to go through the trim actuator, so I'm going to wait. But on the top one, looks like I'm going to put this piece on, followed by another nylon. And this side piece. Then it's going to be thick washer. Then I'm going to do a castle nut. Then this bottom piece is going to go through the trim actuator. I'm going to go with a nylon, then this, and then another AN 960-10, which is the fat washer, and then a castle nut. So now we'll go over to the trim actuator. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. I hope you liked what you saw and you could see things in a little better detail as I got more cameras involved into the mix. That did several things for me. It took me more time to edit the video, not having a good organization set up for 3 different cameras, data in one folder. So I gotta arrange that stuff a little bit better to make my video editing smoother. But I do hope the detail's better, and I decided to break this video up into 2 parts. Originally I was going to have 3-part series where I'm fixing 3 things, but ain't nobody got time for that! This video had a lot more detail in it. It was almost 40 minutes long, so I decided to break it up into 2 20-minute chunks. So this is going to be the disassembly portion, and the next video will be the reassembly portion. So stay tuned to the channel for next week's episode where we get into the reassembly of the trim actuator. And we'll see you soon.